There. Okay, it just went live.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Athens in Motion Communications, Education and Communications Subcommittee meeting. Today is December 9th, and this meeting should last about an hour. All right, so we have an agenda. Oh, let's call the meeting to order. Calling the meeting to order, and I'm going to share the agenda. If I can find it. Okay. Okay, so the agenda, we're going to call the meeting to order at 4:38 p.m. And our first item on the agenda is we're going to hear about social media management from Amy Cheek. Take it away, Amy. I'm going to drop this share now.
Hello. Thanks for having me. My name is Amy Cheek. I am the marketing specialist for the Leisure Services Department, and so one of the tasks that I have is social media management for our department. So there's a lot of layers to it. We can get deep or we could keep it simple, but as you all know, social media is a nice tool that we could use. It is mostly free in the sense that there's usually like a pretty low barrier to entry. It's free to make an account and you can do posts and all of that. It's a nice way to stay connected with your users. But as you know, when we use social media, we don't own those tools. So we're very much at the mercy of the platforms. And so that's when I say that it's mostly free in the sense that your time is not free. But in terms of those traditional marketing techniques, in the sense that like if you're paying for an ad in a newspaper, there is like one cost with it, whereas social media, there's a lot that you can do for free and then you can build on it if y'all had some money to put behind it to make sure people are seeing your messaging. So I think there's two great ways that y'all could use it. One is for to keep your current users engaged, but then also as the second part would be as an education tool for other folks in the community to know what you guys are doing. So it just kind of depends on what you would want to do with that. If y'all want to ask me questions, and I'm sorry, I didn't prepare necessarily a speech or anything, so we could chat. I usually try to, I prefer a conversation style. So if y'all have specific questions or goals that you would like to do, or if you just wanted me to provide kind of an overview of techniques that I use for our department, I'm happy to do that as well. So how can I help you? Really?
Start with what we know we have. We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram account.
Okay.
And I don't really pay attention to how many followers or anything we have. It's not a huge number, but it's not embarrassingly low either. And the reason it is that it's not big is because we really haven't done much with it. And that's because we really haven't had much to say that would be, interesting and useful, other than we think that biking and walking is great. And we think that fatalities are terrible. So I think what we want to be able to do is come up with a way to, kind of, when we have a message, we want to be able to deploy it smoothly. Right? I'm not good at this stuff. Whenever I do it, I always make about 5 mistakes and I end up having to edit my posts and all that. That's not smooth. So that's one thing. We need to have a good procedure for how we put this stuff out there. And then there should be some sort of vetting process, I would think too. We can't just put any old thing out there, but we need to be sure that we are, staying within the boundaries that the Mayor Commission Transportation and Public Works have kind of assigned to us.
Sure.
And then the third thing really is figuring out how to find more people to connect with. How do we add followers?
Okay.
I mean, I don't even know who our followers are. And I think we need to kind of figure out who the followers are that we want and how do we get them.
Sure. Yeah, all of those are great. I just peeked at your stuff. I mean, I think one of the So yeah, so here's a few things, and we can set up a separate like how to if you wanted to do it that way. I think, um, yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay. So this is what I can see just from share, just from the outside looking at your. Come on. Click the thing like 5 times. All right, so this is what I could see on your Facebook. Um, and so an easy way, click that, that's your followers. So that's an easy way to see. So it says your followers are unavailable, probably because I don't have access to your accounts, but you should be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy way to do it. And I would say, usually you had mentioned that you wanted to grow your followers. I think that is important, but I think that what's more important than your number of followers is your engagement levels. So, like looking here, it's, we've got like um, it seems like you have some posts, which are great, but it doesn't. So Peter, I don't know if you guys know Peter, Teresa, Diane, so these are folks that are already engaged with you, which is perfect. Like you would want, um, you want some engaged users. So that's a little bit of promo. So I guess I would focus on maybe not get so stuck on the growing the numbers, but just make sure that you are producing content that is relevant to your folks. So it seems like, and I'm sorry that I don't already know this offhand. Athens in Motion, you all have a pretty clear mission statement, right?
Hold on a
Yes.
second.
Yeah, I'll answer that. Yeah, there's a pretty clear mission statement. It's the implementation of the Athens in Motion plan.
Right. So that's your vetting process. Like that, if you're talking about kind of your vetting process for what goes, that's it. Does it follow this message? That's pretty simple. Some things can be a little bit extraneous. So for example, like hold on, let me see if I can navigate these tabs while sharing. Hold on. So like right now, I have a campaign going on. This is a different software, but for a GNOME project that we're doing for the leisure services. So I'm able to look at this and like I can see my post engagement. So we're doing a campaign right now because I purposefully wanted to create something that wasn't necessarily promotions for our stuff, that just was going to build engagements. And as you can see, that's what we're doing here. So I purposely wanted to create content that people would respond to. And so we're doing a gnome for the holidays type thing. We have our trails gnome that kind of hangs out. He's visiting different parks this season, like during the holiday season, kind of like an elf on the shelf type thing. And I mean, honestly, I created easy clues so people feel really proud that they found the gnome. That's, kind of tricky or whatever, but folks, I mean, you can see that our engagements increased, a good bit with these because, not only the people reached, but also the engagements, the reactions, the comments, not a lot of shares, but I'm not so worried about that. So, I mean, that's there's some different techniques and I'm happy to help you with those if you want to kind of think of some ideas. In terms of the, you had mentioned you wanted to think of an easy way to deploy messages smoothly. Facebook, if you set it up, so this is a free thing, and I'm happy to do this too offline too. We can set up your account basically as a business so that you're able to access it and it's separate from your personal Facebook. I would recommend doing that if you've ever interacted with anybody, you've accidentally like interacted with someone on the wrong account. This avoids that. So this is a way that you can schedule posts. So you could, just come on here, you can link your Facebook and Instagram accounts, put in your stuff, add your photos, you can customize your text and all of that. And then it also has, so these are all free options just within Facebook. I think Daniel mentioned maybe that y'all might be interested in looking at some softwares. There are some out there, but honestly, the organic free version is pretty great. Facebook's working hard, or Meta now, they're working hard to compete against the folks that they're paying for because they're losing advertising dollars. So they want to keep that within their own apps now. But it's a, it's a very simple. So for example, like if I wanted to create this post about the gnome, you can just pop this in there. We'll create our text. And then from here, you can customize it, and I can go into here and like tag different accounts. That's an easy way to, get some other folks to engage with you, is just tagging other accounts. So, and this is a very high level kind of a overview, but I don't know. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, or if you want to get in the weeds, I'm happy for it to do that.
In the weeds, but what you've told us here with setting up a business account, that's huge because this Facebook page is linked to my Facebook. So far, I haven't done anything embarrassing in that department, but never say never. These things happen.
Right.
So yeah, we would love to do that, and I like the tools for that are much better than your personal.
It's way easier. So this is, I guess, like on the front side, this is me as a human right here, and I can get to our accounts through this way. I don't do it. I prefer to use the business account, and I even have it where I can set it up where it purposefully comes here, because these are all the accounts that I'm looking at, and it's just a lot. And so I personally, I don't want to accidentally interact as the wrong person. I can do it through my personal, but I would definitely recommend this Facebook. It's business.facebook.com. If you wanted to do that, you can log in. It's free. There's no charge. It's going to prompt you to set up an ad account. You don't have to do that. So just keep clicking until you're kind of out of it.
Does it require you to give it a credit card if you set up an ad account?
If you set up an ad account, it does require a credit card. And since y'all, I don't know what your, as a commission, I would imagine like that spending is probably pretty limited, right? So
well, it is, and we'd need to have the county set up, that whole thing. I don't know if
right.
I don't know. Do y'all have a credit card you ever use or anything like that?
Yeah, so we have P cards, but we're not really, since it's not an ACC Gov Facebook account, I doubt that we would want to connect that.
You wouldn't be allowed to, honestly.
Yeah. So let's just
because
forget that.
we have $12,000 budget. Athens in Motion does, and so there are ways that they can spend it down, but that's I think it's best to just not set up an ad account right now, because we
agree.
have, and Amy, you might know more about this than I do, but I know at some point Jeff Montgomery will probably want to explore how they deal with the commission social media accounts. Right now, it's basically like I can't even have access to Athens in Motion one because we don't want to risk any sort of blowback for ACC Gov being affiliated with the social media accounts.
Right.
So hopefully, if we get more staff, I think he has some ideas for future staff that could manage that.
So it's going to ask you to, but you don't have to. And then the other good part about this is there's this tool which you have on your, like through the regular Facebook, but the insights really help a lot. So you can pull different reports, even as simple as like based on who's interacting with your stuff, like who these people are, because Facebook, I mean, that's the whole point, is that they're buying marketing research is why they want people to use it. So you can pull these different reports and then see who your folks are. You had mentioned kind of identifying who your engaged users would be. I mean, obviously folks in Athens, that's an easy one. And then hopefully voters, like you're probably don't need to target a lot of teenagers. You need folks who are adults who are able to make those decisions. Not that teenagers wouldn't be relevant for your content, but
We
which
will be doing
especially if we're on
safety.
Facebook and Instagram, you're going to get adults. You're not going to get teens. So
We'll be doing safety messaging, and that's very relevant to teenagers.
yeah. But you'll also have access to this. Even to the point where you can do a content report and you'll see like what types of content do well. So we did the parade. So obviously a lot of people attended the parade, whether they care about our department or know that we are the ones who put it on. So that's where this is a big bump for our account. Even though it's not any of our content, here we've got, I did some paid advertising for some of our holiday events. So, you can kind of see the types of things that people are caring about. And then you can even see outside where folks are coming from. So I think that that's interesting. And then you get the random like folks in other parts of the world who are with you. But if in terms of justifying and I know you're I think you're a volunteer commission, so you probably don't have to do this, but if there's if you ever wanted to show that, to like show, the progress of the thing, you can export all of these as well. So
okay.
I would recommend the free option for sure. I'm trying to think what else. Another tool that's very easy would be Canva. So if you wanted to, and it seems like based on your content on here, y'all already use this, right?
I don't think so. Maybe
Okay.
somebody does, but I don't know about it.
Well, let's all right, so you shared a link. So Canva is that's a great looking poster. Okay, never mind. All the Canva stuff was already from us. Sorry about that. Canva is a free.
That's not in our wheelhouse as far as I know. So
Okay, well,
Nope.
it's very easy to use. Canva.com. It's free. You can search, social media. It'll have everything sized for you already.
mhm.
And then there's templates. So if you knew you wanted to do something, we can do bikes. So not so much there. So say we wanted to do this one.
It's social media day.
Yeah. And then on here, we can say bike. And then it can kind of, if you're, sometimes you don't want to spam people, but sometimes you need to post regularly if you want people to engage with your page. So I would shoot for, maybe 3 or 4 times a week to, have something, and you want it to be quality. So if the choice is to not post anything or to post junk, I would not post. But
Right.
you can do like a fun graphic, even something like this, drive less, bike more, and then that's it. You just download it, use this as your graphic, and then that's it. So that might be an easy way. And then if you wanted to do, so say you're doing a bike to work day, if, then you could customize it and add, December 15th or whatever. So there's easy stuff that you could do. So and this is very accessible for folks to, once you've used it once, it's easy to figure out.
So you just create,
Awesome.
is it a JPEG file that ends up coming out of this?
You can download it with whatever, a PNG, a JPEG, a PDF, if you wanted to create, you just decide how you want it to download.
So I've never been able to upload a PDF file to Facebook. So is that
You can't. It's they won't let you. That's a Facebook thing.
Yeah. So with the Canva, does it give you an output that you can upload to Facebook, or does it allow you to just shoot it right over to Facebook?
They do. I never use it. Allegedly, some people do, where it says save time, schedule this, and then you can link it
Ah,
if you wanted to. I've just never used it. Some people have, but
I think this is what Daniel might have been referring to, in terms of software.
It's not, but it could be extra helpful.
Yeah, I think it's great. So we'll
So
definitely keep
yeah,
that in.
I think um what we could do is because I think it'd be really helpful for Carly to see this stuff too. So we could
Yeah,
just plan to have like an offline meeting, just and I can set that up between you guys, and we can go into a lot more detail there. I think we do need to hop back on the
yeah,
agenda.
let's
yeah.
move on.
Um,
This is
Amy,
fun.
you're welcome to stick around, but you're
Actually,
also welcome
we'd
to
love
head
it if
out
you
if.
would. We'd love it if you would because I mean, some of what we're going to talk about, I think, is relevant to our messaging.
Yeah, I absolutely would, except I have to get my kiddos.
Oh,
So I appreciate it. But yeah, I look forward to chatting with you guys soon.
okay. Thanks so much,
All right,
All
Amy.
right.
bye.
Yeah.
See
Thanks
ya.
for your time.
Of
Thanks,
course,
Amy.
thanks.
Bye. Okay, where's that agenda? Let's see if I can find it again.
All right.
Ah, here it is. And let's see if I can share.
So the next thing was the bike-friendly communities discussion. I don't think we need to go too much into detail there. I think you mentioned that that would be an interesting topic to cover um, in one of our campaigns.
Right, right. So
So
I'm going to share. Let me just see if I can share the bike leagues. Okay, can you all? No, you can't see that. So
there we
let's
go.
see. Oh, you see. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is from the Bike League of America, and that I know this is very hard to see, but if you look at the bottom left, you see there's the bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond medallions. Okay. So if you're doing a little bit of something, you kind of get a bronze, and that's where Athens is right now. And our goal is to move it up to silver within a, reasonably short but not impossible time frame. So that's our goal. And let me see if I can share another. Okay, so this I took that fan and I just sort of flattened it out. So you've got enforcement, education, engineering, key outcomes, evaluation, and encouragement. Okay. And so they have these rating scales like, with the law enforcement and a bicycling liaison, you're yes or you're no. Well, we are yes. We do have our bicycling liaison. Bicycle friendly laws and ordinance, none to excellent. There's just a whole range of things that they use, and it's not really a science to how they quantify these things, but it's kind of like the more of these things you have going for you, the higher your rating is likely to be. So we'd
Yeah,
all
I think where we would focus our efforts from this committee is probably education and encouragement.
right. That's
Um,
Yeah.
education and encouragement.
so I think that is something that we want to bring into our discussion with tool design group, which we can hop over into that if you're all ready. But
Yeah.
that could be, those are kind of our major goals are to bump these things up because that, essentially is the main purpose of, um, you know, really having that outreach committee. Um, I think, but
Hmm.
you know,
Well, I agree with you because in looking through this thing today, I was thinking, well, this is really a chart for the whole of Athens in motion, plus transportation public works, because you got the engineering aspects, plus law enforcement.
mhm.
Um, but for our little group, yeah, education and encouragement, and then and that's tied into that social media thing that we want to get going. And also the next thing on our agenda is that wonderful communication strategy that that Daniel is going to brief us on.
Okay, and I can do the sharing on that if you like.
You do that. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, so take it away, Daniel.
See. All right. Is it sharing properly?
Since you're starting.
There we go. Okay. So I talked to Jared a couple weeks ago with Tool Design Group, and he put together the scope of work for a communication strategy. So there's kind of two tasks that would be involved here. They're both individually priced, and it outlines that scope. I know I just got it today, and I sent it along, so some of you guys might not have had a chance to read through it yet, but this is just kind of based on conversations with us, and kind of because they developed the Athens in Motion plan, they have a good idea of what the recommendations are. So branding and marketing templates is kind of the number one thing, which honestly, so that's that Canva that she was talking about. Like, you wouldn't really need that because you have these templates. Now what that means is basically logos at variety of scales. So this could be for documents, social media posts, meeting and signage. These are all just basically you have your logo and then you have various versions of it that can be uploaded in different ways, whether it's a PNG, which has a transparent background. And so if you load that um, into a graphic or a media post, for instance, you're not going to have like a white square around the logo. You actually have a transparency behind it, which can be really nice. And that would be developed, with us. And so we'd have that kind of bucket of different logos. There's document templates. So whether that's Word document, Illustrator, and InDesign. So Illustrator and InDesign, those are both Adobe products. They're things that I use. And so imagine it from a standpoint of, okay, we're going to produce an education document. We have this InDesign file. Whoever does end up doing, whether we hire someone to actually build out that, education document, or whether we do it in-house, we have this template that can basically be guidelines on fonts, styles, citations, all that kind of stuff. And then you go into presentation templates, press release templates, and flyer templates. So, obviously we have kind of the presentation template that we created and we've been using for our Athens in Motion presentations. And I think Lauren will probably have a lot of thoughts on all these things. So hopefully we can get some feedback from her on this. But I think from preliminary conversations with her, she would be really excited about this kind of stuff. So yeah, and then it mentions that the branding and marketing guide will be included with all templates to provide direction for staff and stakeholders on when and how to use the templates. Stakeholders being Athens Emotion Commission.
Okay.
The guide will keep messaging consistent for a variety of campaigns and events. And then basically deliverables are a kickoff meeting and then the branding and marketing templates.
Okay, so can you explain what a branding and marketing template would look like for us?
Um,
How you use it?
so So if you imagine like you have like a PowerPoint template, right? And it's just your basic PowerPoint. Rather than opening up PowerPoint and just saying new,
Right.
you open up the template and it has your
It's got
fonts, your
the Athens in
colors.
Motion thingy already for you.
Yeah, it's the graphic design portion of all of our materials. And what it shows here is that we have the logos, but also the document templates, the presentation templates, press release, and flyer. So with press releases, for instance, that would be something where it could be the type of thing that we already put together for the Atlanta Highway, and honestly, like these are quotes based on kind of the preliminary scope if they did it all from scratch. it might be that we have enough stuff that we can provide to them to say, here's what we've been using, and they can really pull from that and reintegrate it into this list of templates that we can use.
Yeah.
And so maybe it would come out
Right.
cheaper, but
Well, I mean, I think we should try to stay consistent as possible.
mhm.
We've already got
But,
all the logos.
yeah, and I think that's really important as we try to, you know, be a little more outgoing with the message as to what Athens in Motion is and what we're trying to achieve. That, you know, once you have that consistency in your communications to the public, after a while, it just becomes second nature. They'll look at the template and not even that, you know, it'll recognizable as Athens in Motion. And, um, you know, once we can get the word out there more, then it'll allow us to hopefully get more followers and more social media, uh, you know, that interaction.
Right. And we just,
Yeah.
I liked her idea of doing some sort of like a little, game. I mean, I don't like the elf on the shelf thing or garden gnome, but I mean, like if there are QR codes in strategic locations, like if we could have people like, hit the QR code and put it on social media, I mean, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean there are all sorts of things that you could do similar to that, like, scavenger hunt or and honestly, it's like she's dealing with leisure services things, you're looking at families going out in the parks, greenways, that kind of stuff. And so, are you going to do a scavenger hunt on our bike lanes? Maybe not. Um,
Wouldn't
but
find any.
but there could be some creative things that we could do that kind of reach out to families, especially as we start developing our multi-use path network. It won't necessarily the community is not going to really know the difference between I'm on the Greenway, I'm on the Firefly, I'm on the Athens in Motion network, like, and that's where some of our signage and stuff comes in, which will be down the road. But yeah, right now, you know, we could basically plan on some sorts of events like that, where it's not necessarily in the bike lanes, but on those areas where you might have family friendly things, you have, some, fun things where you take a picture and you submit it, you like have a QR code and you take, can you find these things, and that'd be interesting. So
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fun stuff we could do, but we just need to get the whole framework kind of put in place so that it's easy for people to use
Right.
and
absolutely.
it's easy
Well,
for
and
the dummies who are old and don't know about this stuff to use things and have it go to the right places.
well, I know for myself, I still get, you know, when I talking to people and say, you know, I'm on the Athens in Motion Commission, and their first reaction is, well, what's that?
Yeah. Well, I was on the T-Splosh committee for 2023. Most of the people on that committee did not know what Athens in Motion was. So had to
And
go
yeah,
educating.
so as we, you know, I really think it's very important that we, um, you know, part of the focus is getting that brand recognition out there, so that I mean, ultimately, all we're trying to do is make Athens safer to bike and walk, and that's going to cost money, and we need to make sure that the public is aware of that and that they're, you know, behind any spending that needs to be done, and because it's competing with all the other spending within the county. Um,
There's a lot of awareness raising that we have to do,
yes,
a part of people who are walking, biking, driving. I mean, there's just a huge amount of awareness. I mean, one of the reasons we have so many fatalities is because drivers are not paying attention. They're not paying attention because we don't have, enough infrastructure that's designed well so that it's easy to be aware of and avoid.
yeah, and it really makes a nasty catch-22 of you want more people to bike and walk, but they're concerned about the safety. And you know, unless you have more people doing it, the people driving don't see it as a big issue because there aren't that many people. You know, there's a couple crazies out there on their bicycles, and but you know, for the most part, a lot of times are a bother. But
I got a quick question. Is there any desire to put together like an Athens in Motion FAQ pamphlet, something like the Greenway puts out when they put their maps out, something we can hand to somebody when they're in our shop and we're talking about bike lanes and stuff that's coming up? And you know, when someone says, "Well, what is Athens in Motion?" you could hand them something that has a lot more information than what I'm able to rattle off the top of my head.
Right. I think
there
that
you go.
is
Yeah.
definitely something that we need to have. And I think that, you know, we pretty much got the information, the content. It's just a matter of putting it into a nice little package with the help of our branding and marketing template.
Yeah, so I think so in that specific instance, we would have the flyer template already put together, and then
Yeah.
we would have some committee meetings where we say, okay, what are some of the questions, you know, that we get asked, and then we could basically plug in to that template to create that material. So absolutely, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Some
Scott,
flyers.
you're such a great person to know, you know, the kinds of information that needs to be put out there and the best way to put it out there, because you know, you're working with people riding bicycles through town all day, every day. You know,
I'm also curious, does Athens in Motion get inundated with all the requests from the journalism students every semester wanting to do big interviews and big projects for their classes?
I wish we did. No.
Yeah.
I get all these questions.
Because
And
I know, because I just got one today asking about sort of Bike Athens' role in addition to Athens in Motion, and I'm just in my head, I'm just thinking about all the answers I've given before to other students, and it's like, how can I pull those together and just, you know, give this kid a summary of it all?
Yeah, that'd be great to have that
Yeah.
information just sort of packaged up.
yeah, and you know, I do receive a lot of those interview requests, and they typically get sent over to Lauren if they want to get a perspective on from Athens in Motion. So yeah, and I'm sure Bike Athens name gets thrown out there too a couple times. So
Yeah, but that, I mean, that's really important stuff you're bringing up, Scott. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, we need to have that sort of information available. So good. All right,
So-
task 2.
all right, so task 2 is the communication and outreach strategy. So those are the materials, this is the strategy. And this is more what we were talking about with Amy in terms of how do you get those followers. And so this would essentially, let's see, goal of developing a strategy for communication and outreach related to bike and pedestrian events and projects. Um, and so we would identify how to best reach the target audience, how the strategies for planning and promoting events, mediums for messages, classification for message type and importance, when and how frequently to deliver messages in coordination with other events and messages. So this is where she was saying, you know, you don't necessarily want to just put out content to fill out your numbers. You want to make it meaningful. And so this strategy would allow us to have that kind of thing already laid out where we know when, we know how frequently, and then, you know, here are the other events and messages that are existing or current. And you know, some of what you shared some leisure services stuff. So if it's on the Greenway and it's related to bike and ped stuff, then it makes sense that we would also coordinate and share some of their things, and vice versa once we get a larger presence. So Tool will then summarize those items that I just highlighted, and others noted by staff and stakeholders in a draft and final document to guide consistent communication for the future. So while it doesn't create specific messaging for any events or outreach, it provides considerations and guidance for messages that are uniquely created by ACC in the future. And then they'll also consider how annual and pop-up events, along with larger education campaigns and project promotion, will fit into the document. So you've got the coordination meeting to discuss messaging goals, then the draft strategy document, then we would provide feedback on that draft, and then come up with a final communication strategy. So,
Well, I think that all sounds reasonable. I mean, what do the rest of y'all think?
Yeah, I think this is incredibly important, you know, to get this communication and outreach, and have some people help us from, you know, almost a marketing standpoint as to, you know, what techniques are successful. How do we reach these people? Because even, you know, if you put up a Facebook page and an Instagram, unless they happen to stumble upon it, you know, people aren't going to interact with it. We have to, you know, reach them somehow where, you know, where the people are out in the public, and then they know they can go um, to our social media to get consistent or constant or consistent messages.
Yeah, Daniel, do they have recommendations too on a timetable of when we would roll different things out, specifically like on social media, or is it kind of up to us with? And I just caught the tail end of what Amy said about how sometimes less is more. Don't just put it out there to put it out there, and that might be best also for our commission is you know quality over quantity. But do they have recommendations about that, or is it kind of up to us to decide how often and when we're going to throw stuff out?
yeah, so that's kind of part of this first kind of set of goals. So where they're trying identify when and how frequently to deliver messages. Um, and then that would come up in that communication strategy. So that would be laid out for us. The benefit of getting it done in this way by a professional team is you're not just kind of going by the seat of your pants or like learning on the job. It's kind of set forth for you like in a template where it's easy to just if you follow the plan, then makes it a lot easier. And then, pair that with either Canva, making graphics there, or even just art templates from the first section, and then it all kind of gets wrapped in together. The one major thing here is the cost. So, our budget is $12,000, and this would eat up most of it. So it could be one of those things where we do one task and then the other, or whichever one is more important. And then as we get, obviously this all has to our money has to be spent out. Well, I'm pretty sure you guys follow the same rules that we do, and our money has to be spent out by the end of June, so
Right.
July 1 or June 30th. So and it would take a fair amount of time to do these things. Now, some other things that we could do with that money, I mentioned briefly, I think in yesterday's meeting, was potentially hiring an intern to do some research, additional research on like policy and that kind of stuff. That could also wait until another year. I and then I was also going to mention that originally I was going to put in two position requests, one for Vision Zero specialist, and then another one for an education outreach specialist. We are going to hold off on the education outreach. Stephen talked with Blaine, and a lot of people are asking for positions, especially with the impending T-Plus projects. Departments are basically already kind of like, hey, we're already behind, and this is going to add more costs. And so we're only going to be asking for the Vision Zero specialists for now. And so these are the things. So the assumptions and additional services, they wanted to mention that these services are not included in the scope, which is public engagement and photo simulations or renderings. So those are the types of things where, oh, well, what does this look like in this situation? That would cost extra. Those are things that I can do, though.
That's where Daniel and Scott go out and take pictures of each other.
Exactly.
So I think this sounds like a really reasonable plan. And I mean, we've only got like 6 months, and if they can put something together for us inside of 6 months that we can really start using, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd be happy to recommend that to the Greater Commission.
yeah, and if money is an issue, I think task 2 would actually be um, the priority, that we have a strategy up front. I almost see that as more important than task 1, because how do we have a branding and marketing templates if we don't have a communication and outreach strategy as to how we want to be um, achieve the ultimate goal of the education and communication.
Right. So question would be if we only did that, so that's like looks like 6,400. That leaves the 5,000 and change. What would we spend that money on? I have no idea myself at this point.
Hmm.
And we have
Yeah, and
6 months to spend it. We have
that can, and I mean, these are things where I think so. I think our moves forward here would be to um, make a motion. If this committee agrees that this is a good way to go, then basically we can move this to the main commission meeting in January, and prioritizing task 2 over task 1, and then kind of get going on it. Because even, I mean, it's not like I can just say, okay, we're good. Like, we still have to agree as a commission. And since our next meeting is in January, we could do a special called session if we wanted to. Um, but I agree. I think, I mean, it's always good to kind of save some money, and I need to get more details as to whether how much or whether it can roll over. But in a lot of industry or government, or even like academia, you spend it or you lose it. And especially if we're looking at mayor and commission wants to look at how they can save on the budget. Oh, well, last year they only spent $6,000 of their budget, so
Right.
maybe we'll just allocate less.
I
Well,
did have one thought, Daniel. Would we be advised to like print signs for the T-Splost? Those will.
Yeah, so this could,
I
printing
mean,
costs could come out of the budget, the
Okay.
are we talking about
$600 for that
signs
stuff.
for the campaign?
Just yeah, or not to say Happens in Motion wants you to vote for it, but for some, whatever we're allowed to do in order to publicize the fact that it's on the ballot and people need to be aware of it.
I mean, I think a lot of that is the T-Splost committee's job.
But do they have a budget for signs? Is my question.
I mean, they're going to have to raise some money to pay for billboards, yard signs, all that stuff.
How do they do that?
I don't know.
I would assume it comes out of the cost from the SPLOST office, which they're paid for out of the SPLOST budget. So they probably also have some operating funds separate from like SPLOST, because I mean it's not like the SPLOST hasn't passed, so we wouldn't have funds to do that. So and all of the actual T-SPLOST and SPLOST funds go directly to those projects, unless it's for project management. So I would assume they have a budget for operating, and yeah, that like what the Greenway Commission did for, I think it was the last T-Splost, or I think it was the T-Splost. And you can talk to Jake Moss more about this. He was the one who kind of headed that up. They printed out these FAQ sheets of like, here's what you're voting for if you vote yes. And the Greenway Commission made their own targeted thing where it really highlighted the things that they cared about. So you know, we wouldn't need to make an infographic of here are all the things, but you could basically say, hey, this percentage of the projects are bike and pedestrian related. Here's what you're voting for. And even if we did hire someone to do design, or if we did that internally, we do have like print shops internally. So I could talk to Steven when that time comes. Is do we send this to the ACC print shop and just run it out of our line item budget from TPW, or does it need to be something that's coming from your budget? In which case, $600 for printing, it might be good to get a quote from some of the local printers to see how far that would go. But it kind of depends on if you want to just rely on the marketing materials from the SPLOS committee or the SPLOS office, then they would pay for that. If you wanted to create your own for Athens in Motion specifically, then
I don't think Athens in
yeah.
Motion wants to do that. But I think, there's, my concern is we've got $12,000 and we've got 6 months in which to spend it unless it can roll over or we don't get penalized for not spending it all. Like if they say you only use 6,000 this year, so that's all we're going to give you next year.
But Daniel, is Tool Design someone that works with the county regularly?
Yes, there are. So Banesh is our on-call engineer,
Oh.
and then Tool is subcontracted with them. So
Okay.
they wrote the Athens Motion Plan. They do all of our design efforts for the like Barber Street, any of our intersection and streetscape things. I believe they're the ones who do most of that type of stuff.
Okay, so if we get close to the end of the 6 months, it wouldn't be, we'd be able to pay them maybe in advance, or
No,
So
you pay it as you go.
the answer is no to that one. So
okay,
it is it's a government rule, pay on delivery.
okay,
So, and I can tell you, when I was first talking to him, I forgot to mention fiscal year. I just said end of the year. And he was like, wait, you're not talking about end of December, right? And so if that's any scale, then like 1 month is not enough lead time. It's not enough lead time for them to be able to get that done. And he was totally fine with June 30th. So the lead time being anywhere from 1 month
okay.
to 6.
Okay. So we really just need to get a little more information about, how the budgeting works. Because if we do need to spend all that money in order to keep that as our baseline budget, then, I personally think that we should just go ahead and have them do that job, spend the budget. Because by the end of the budget period, we'll then have our materials that will be ready to deploy, and then we can start developing the content.
Yeah.
So now we need a motion to move this forward to the full commission?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, well, I will make that motion
awesome. Who wants
to
to
move
say?
to move this proposal to review by the full commission.
Do I get to second it, or does someone else have to?
Yeah. Anybody, I think.
Anybody want to step up?
I'll
Oh,
second.
good. Yay, Blaine.
All right. So I'm assuming we don't have any more discussion. Does everyone agree? Oh, did you want to throw in a clarifier on the priority?
Oh, yeah, let's prioritize task 2 over task 1.
Yes.
All right. Teresa, I'll let you
Okay.
do that.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
All right.
Motion carries. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though I've got two names up there, I only count myself once. And I guess, Daniel, you don't get to vote, right?
Right. So what we'll do, I think Teresa, if you just basically can send from the committee the recommendation,
Mhm.
I will get more information about how Athens in Motion Commission needs to spend its budget, and I will have that information ready for our next general meeting. Did y'all want to just wait until the next general, or did you want to try to get a special called?
Oh, that's gonna be tough to do, isn't it?
And I'll go ahead and say that if it can't be next week, then it'll have to be after January 5th because I'm off.
Yeah, I can't do anything until after the new year because I've got too
Okay.
many problems at home that nobody needs to worry about with me. Yeah, I mean, we could possibly do the first week of January, but not Thursday. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
The 10th or 11th, and it'd still give us 2 weeks
yeah,
in
I can't
advance of
do
the other meeting.
I'm having some minor surgery on the 10th, and I'm going to be in
Oh, well, good
Okay.
luck with that.
Thanks. No big deal.
Yeah,
So,
I guess what we'll do,
why don't we just ask people if they feel like we need to have a special called meeting for this? I mean, first of all, let's find out what the budget issue is, and then we can put that out there.
yeah, I think it would be good to. I'll get some more answers on that. I don't know if the commission needs to vote on it as a whole. But I think it would be a good idea for everyone to have an opportunity to kind of speak up.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, let's go ahead and package the information, put it together, and then maybe let's just have a chat offline later on, maybe tomorrow if you have time, Teresa.
We do. Let me look at this. Tomorrow's Friday. Friday in the morning.
Okay, great. I'm free in the morning.
Good. Just call me whenever you're ready. I'll just be
Okay.
hanging out with the dogs.
All right. We're coming up. You know, we started slightly late, but we're coming up around the time we started. Are there any other things? Anyone wanted to? I think this was really helpful for me to kind of see that down on paper, and it feels like we're making good, actionable steps. So
Right. I feel like we actually are getting some traction here. So this is good. And I thank everyone for joining in. And yeah, 2022 should be fun.
And now.
All
the,
right. Shall we adjourn the meeting?
yeah, Scott, are you still doing the repair your own bike thing tonight?
Every Thursday,
All right. What time does that start?
6 o'clock.
All right. I'll be over there a little bit later.
Cool.
All right. This
All right.
meeting is adjourned. It's 5:35. Thank you
All
so much,
right.
everyone.
Yep.
All
Bye
right.
now.
Hasta
Thanks,
luego.
everybody.
See you guys.